Welcome into the Locked On Knicks podcast. The Knicks destroy the Magic, and Josh Hart is playing the best basketball of his life.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, and I wanted to remind you that LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And I wanted to thank you for making Locked On Knicks your first listen today and every day. If you didn't know, now you do. We are available on all platforms. So if you want to become an everydayer, be sure to subscribe and hit that notifications bell on YouTube. And if you're getting just a tad tired of looking at our faces, trust me, I look in the mirror every morning. I get it. You can check us out on the audio side of things. Just be sure to subscribe and hit that auto download function to ensure you never miss an episode there as well. But who's talking to you and being a little bit self-critical? I'm Gavin Schall, your favorite play-by-play broadcaster, who's a tad bit under the weather. So if we keep it a little bit short tonight, that is why. But it was a return to form for your New York Knicks, a 98-74 curb stomping of the Orlando Magic. They scored just 16 points in the second quarter, just 15 points in the third, just 20 in the fourth. I don't know why I'm leaving out the first. They only got 23 points in the first quarter. It was a butt kicking. The Knicks, it was the first time they've held an opponent under 75 points since April 13th, 2012. That was a 103-65 victory over the Wizards. It was also a day before my 17th birthday. Wow, what a time. What a time. That was the apex. For me. If you're a Knicks fan, this is the apex. This was a fantastic game. The Knicks led wire to wire in this one. We're never really seriously threatened beyond the opening few minutes of this one. Welcome back, Jalen Brunson. He was incredible, but I think tonight we have to start off with Josh Hart. 19 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 8 of 12 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3. And you guessed it, his ninth consecutive game playing over 40 minutes. The 3 for 5 from 3 continues to stand out. The opening shot of this ball game, a step back 3 in Wendell Carter Jr.'s eye. And he is just playing with a confidence that is a little shocking to me, because he's always been fearless in transition. That has never ever been an issue. But for him to shoot the threes that he is shooting now, playing with the swagger he's playing, like he stared down the Magic's bench again. That is 2 times in a week now our guys had a bench stare down. Like that was like, he was not doing that after shooting threes this entire season. He is attacking mismatches in a way that we didn't see earlier this year. Like it just was not there. Like 2 different possessions in the second quarter, like gets Markelle Fultz on him, says, all right, I'm going right to like a drive into about a 10-foot fadeaway. That's a shot that he took all year when he got the ball and there was 4 seconds left of the shot clock and he had no choice and a defender knew exactly what was going to happen. Now he's proactively seeking out the mismatch, going after it, hitting the shot. Did it again. Had Anthony Black on him and said, all right, this kid's like 12 years old. He might be 6'7", but I'm about to put him in the weight room. Backed him down, turn, double pump finish, snarl at the ref for a call. If we can zoom out for a sec on Josh Hart, and if I'm being honest, I didn't think we were going to get this version of Josh Hart this season. I thought him playing in the Basketball World Cup was ultimately going to be something that wrecked the Knicks season. That felt melodramatic because so many different guys play in the Olympics and come back the next year and have careers. So why specifically would it affect Josh Hart? Well, he played in the playoffs for the first time in his career last season. Then he had the World Cup with like a particularly like harsh travel schedule and a particularly short break before the season started. And then he just did not appear to be himself the first 20 or so games of the year. And I'm not even talking about with his hesitancy to shoot threes. it was from a sheer energy perspective. They were not getting the same Josh Hart. He wasn't getting the same rebounds. He wasn't getting to the same loose balls. He wasn't making those same momentum swinging plays that I think, like, obviously the shooting is nice when it's there. The reason the Knicks gave him $70 million this summer is because he's one of the great hustle guys in the NBA. And as the fire alarms go off, that's what happens when you criticize Josh Hart within a mile of MSG. But he was like they gave him $70 million to be Mr. Nick, right? To embody the ethos that Tom Thibodeau wanted to put out there, to be, I think, an on-court microcosm of the culture that the Knicks wanted to build. And I honestly do think to Tom Thibodeau that has about $70 million worth of value. And that's not to say that Josh Hart wasn't an awesome player last year, but I was a little surprised he got that much, even with the new cap. It's going to look like what 10 years ago a $35 million contract looked like. I was surprised in the sense that I thought he got exposed a little bit in the playoffs. And I was like, all right, the shooting in the season was great, but it seems like it was ultimately a mirage. And what we're seeing right now, it indicates to me that might ultimately not be the case, because like nothing about this feels fluky. Like last year, there was a little bit of small sample size theater to it. These last 7 games, which I guess like you could laugh at me all you want for saying small sample size theater and then saying the phrase these last 7 games, the post All-Star break, 6 threes a game, 41.5% from 3. You can take it back even longer than that. The last 15 games or so, he's taking about 5 threes a game, hitting right around 38% of them. That is outstanding for Josh Hart. And to me, the reason I don't think it's a fluke is because for most of his career, he's been a mid-30s shooter, not on great volume, but at times on decent enough volume, especially in terms of where the NBA was at when he first came into the league. So why am I spending 7 minutes on Josh Hart today? Because I think he's ultimately going to be the bellwether for how this team works. When the Knicks traded away Quentin Grimes, it was obviously to open up room for Bojan Bogdanovic. It was obviously because they weren't going to give Grimes the role or the money that he wanted. And it was because it was all leading up to the other Emmanuel Quickley situation. But to be, excuse me, I'm burping. That was the ultimate hiccuping. I think I was just hiccuping. That was the ultimate show of faith in Hart and him being an integral part in the playoffs. And I think it was an acknowledgement that, like, whether he's shooting well, whether he's not shooting well, Tom Thibodeau's going to have the guy out there. So might as well just clear the room. And I thought that was a mistake because I thought they needed Grimes' combination of shooting and perimeter defense. The way Bojan and Burks are playing or not playing might still end up being a mistake, just purely for the team's ceiling this year. But it was more essential than ever that Hart not only brought the energy every night, brought the defense on a high level every night, but shot the basketball and was just willing to put them up on a night-to-night basis. And to me, that's the biggest thing here is he has this incredible confidence. And it has to stick around when Randall's back, when Anunoby's back, and he doesn't get to feel the ball as much. And that is a challenge. And I think people underestimate who like myself, who have never played basketball on an ultra high level, how much of a challenge it is to maintain that swagger, maintain that confidence when you say, hey, if I miss a few, the ball might not come back to me. But it has to be there. And if the percentage goes a little bit down just because he loses rhythm when those guys are taking more shots, that's okay. The point is, and I've been saying it all year long, the shots just have to keep going up. And as long as they keep going up, I think he is going to be an integral part of a lot of the Knicks' best lineups. People forget because we haven't seen the two of them play together. When Josh Hart and OG Anunoby play together, teams score like it's the 90s. They score in the mid 80s. And we saw tonight when Josh Hart's out there for 42 minutes, you play the right opponent, you can put together a defensive effort as if it's the 90s, or at least as if it is 2012. So we're going to come back next and we're going to talk a little Jalen Brunson, because he was absolutely spectacular in his return tonight, and thank the basketball gods for that. But We got to talk about our friends over at eBay Motors. Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to provide you players that are guaranteed to fit your roster. So let's see who Josh has picked out for us on this week's eBay Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. The guy I'm going with, I should have looked it up before, and I do not know how to pronounce his first name, but I'm pretty sure it's Duop Reith. He is the now starting center for the Portland Trailblazers with DeAndre Ayton deciding to take a mid-season cruise. Now, I think he's hurt, but it is, you believed me for a second when I said he wanted to take a cruise. What Josh said is Reith is a fantasy option, even if his game can be a little bit limited. The reason I picked Reith is I am in the fantasy Final Four of a combined football and basketball league. It's really intense. I finished second in football. The issue is the guys who finish first and third are also in the Final Four. So I really have to win this thing to feel confident. I have a good team. I don't have a great team. It's based around bigs. Bam Adebayo is really letting me down. So I'm counting on Duop Reith, if that is his real name, to just score points efficiently and get a lot of rebounds. I'm trying to sneak out a win, one of those field goal percentage, low turnovers, blocks, steals, wins that are kind of cheap, but if you can do it, you can do it. Hopefully the guy I'm playing isn't listening. Anyways, Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship, and eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof rack, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right, and now it's time to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Brunson, who was extraordinary in his comeback. And man, it was, I know we got the reports that he was just fine. It was actually good to see him out there moving, grooving, scoring the basketball. I almost went Clyde there, but I couldn't quite pull it off. 29 minutes, 26 points, 11 and 19 from the field. 4-7 from 3 rebounds, 2 assists. I actually don't mind that the assist number was low because he was in his bag basically from the opening moments of this one. And I think he just had a great sense of the moment that this Magic team down Jalen Suggs was vulnerable to an awesome scoring performance from him and was vulnerable to getting blown out. And he said, all right, you know what? If I do my work early, I am not going to have to be playing 40 minutes late, and I'm not going to have to be putting myself at risk. And credit to Tom Thibodeau for not overextending Brunson and realizing he could get a lot of run out of his bench and still win this game pretty easily, but got going with a nice like midi early on, like a really good running one-hander, just showed off some absurd touch. And then to me, I mean, the first half, the 3 pull-up threes he had, they were all on the right wing. They were all of the same variety, like just outlet, dribble up the court, man in his face, super quick trigger. And that's something I've noticed with Jalen. I think more and more as this year has gone on, like when we talk about his added strength and range from the 3-point line, obviously we're mostly talking about him shooting 30-footers, which he's actually done a little bit less of as the season's gone along, at least as far as I can tell with the naked eye. But what he's doing even more of are like these like quick release threes where he doesn't even totally gather it. And it's almost more Steph-esque where he just flips it. And they looked gorgeous tonight. Like he was just raining holy fire from that right side. And then a great end to the first half, an exclamation point when the Magic were trying to go into half with a little bit of momentum. Awful second quarter. He got Paolo on a switch and literally just ran him around the basket twice. Like it was ring around the rosy style, duck goose style. Paolo couldn't catch him, made a layup. Then on the other end, we'll get to Precious in a sec. He played some great defense on Paolo Banchero, but Precious was doing a good job holding him up for just a moment. Brunson shot in, got the strip on Paolo. That was a great sequence. Middle of the third quarter, like maybe one of my favorite buckets from all year, like absurd quick crossover. He laid it in off the top of the backboard. It was just absolutely nasty. I really enjoyed that. All in all, super efficient night from Jalen Brunson. And I like that he got it done in a really compact way, but it was partially Brunson's performance that made me feel this way. But I had this like early on in the game, it felt very, very much like the Knicks during the winning streak after the initial OG Anunoby acquisition, like that, what was it, 14 in 1 month in January? Like, and I was trying to pinpoint, all right, is it just that Jalen's cooking? Is it that Josh Hart's bringing incredible energy to the table? And then I realized what it was. It was Isaiah Hartenstein actually looked like Isaiah Hartenstein for the first time since that stretch. I don't know if he totally carried that through the entire game, like 20 minutes, finished with 5 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks. The 20 minutes is obviously a pretty good indicator that he's not 100%. We had, I guess I don't know if I should take this as official medical doctrine. But we had a YouTube comment explaining the injury to us that essentially indicated that there's not a world where iHeart is going to be 100% at any point this year. Like the best you can hope for is that he kind of settles in at close to 90%. And tonight, I think we got the 90% version of iHeart, like really set the tone early, I thought, by running the floor for that and one layup that Josh Hart set him up on a beautiful pass. He had one of my favorite plays of this game. Brunson threw in one of those signature no looks on a roll, and iHeart just caught it and one timed it into the corner to Devo for a 3. Like that was just like that would have shown up in one of those Spurs basketball porn videos from 2013 that you watch with like Pop giving the voiceover at the beginning and then the really cool orchestral music throughout. I'm gonna cue one of those up before I go to sleep tonight. Anyways, he looked more like himself. I think the 2 games this week really did him some good, and it's a good indicator that when Mitch comes back and the Knicks are maybe able to get him some even more substantial rest, there's a really good opportunity for him to have more nights like this. And that is really exciting. And obviously, look, in the best case scenario, you get 100% version of him that'd be capable of playing 30 minutes a game. If you get this version of him and he's playing 24 minutes and Mitch is playing 24 minutes, like that's not the end of the world. Like that is still a really good center rotation. Also had 3 blocks in this game, including a signature block dunk attempt on Paolo Banchero. Precious Achiuwa was the other part of this game that was a real highlight for me. Just another monster stat line from him. 15 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 5 blocks, 5 freaking blocks in this game. I wish I think at one point he appeared in the eBay Motors ads, and I watch this team every single game. I didn't pick him up in fantasy, so I'm an idiot. But he was exceptional after what was a little bit of a slow start, though. I didn't think, and you see the 6 of 16 shooting is obviously the one thing you don't really like in that stat line. The stunning part is he shot 2 of 4 from 3. So he shot just 4 of 12 from 2-point range. Like part of the Knicks, like really just deadbeat start to the second quarter was Tibbs tried to run with a Precious Sims lineup that the duo's not been great this year together. They have not been very good together this year, unless I'm just making that up. But as my memory holds, they've not been very good together this year, and that continued. Like it felt like the nadir of Hartenstein before he figured out last year, and Sims playing together during that stretch where Mitch was injured, and the Knicks were giving up like 82 points per game, but were scoring 86 points per game. Like it was very, very, very reminiscent of that. And you had all these plays where Precious was just driving into a wall and either getting stripped or getting blocked. And it was clogged toilet offense to the max. Not a lot of fun to watch. So that was the inefficiency from Precious. The great parts of the game from Precious, I thought down the stretch of the second quarter, like he guarded Paolo Banchero. Not that I'm watching every single Magic game. You got to check out Locked On Magic with our guy Philip Rossman-Reich to get an official count on this. But I would assume Precious guarded Paolo about as well as anyone has guarded him all season. It was a big key to the Knicks, like deeply separating this game where they were up 46-39 at the end of the half on a 9-0 run. Hit a big shot clock beating 3 in the second half, then blocked Paolo again in the second half and hit another 3. Like it was like he just had some really nice sequences, some really nice drives to the rim. It was an awesome game for him. We'll touch on a few more Knicks, including a couple nice moments for Deuce McBride. Pretty slow night for Dante DiVincenzo, and finally wrap up by answering your questions that next on Locked On Knicks. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. So I don't have any experience hiring on LinkedIn, but I've been hired on LinkedIn. I can tell you it is the best job site in the entire world. I got such a cool opportunity to work for CBS Sports just because I stayed in contact with a former coworker, told him what I was interested in, and eventually he hooked it up. And you might say, all right, that could happen at any job board. It really only happens on LinkedIn because they have the best platform for messaging and communicating with people that you ultimately want to keep up with. At the end of the day, it's not just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 8 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. So if that's true for you, post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, a few more Knicks to go over in this one. I thought it was another awesome effort for Deuce McBride. Just 19 minutes with Brunson back. Those two didn't share any court time. They literally got all the minutes at the point guard spot between the two of them. And yet 14 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. So let's just zoom out for a sec. 48 minutes at the point guard spot, combined, quick math here, 16 of 26 shooting and 40 points for them in 48 minutes. Like, that is a hell of a night from your point guard position. Deuce 3 for 3 from 3. He is now up to, on the season, dramatic drum roll while I click through on ESPN, 43% from distance on 5.5 attempts per game. The dude has just got a Glock. Like, he is a bona fide shooter. That ridiculous 4-point play, that was also one of my favorite plays of the game, where Dante just chucked it ahead to him. Deuce, like, he could have challenged Powell at the rim. He said, you know what, even if I dunk this, I'd probably have a 6'9", 240-pound Goliath landing on top of me. Instead, let's go the more efficient route. Let's double that point total. Backs into the corner, baits Paolo into contesting. 4-point play. That was awesome. Had a off the bench shot clock buzzer beating 3 right when he came into big shots, crucial shots. Deuce McBride is awesome. And that brings us to, I'm going to fast forward because we got a question about him from a fan. And it was from Clyde Frazier fan account at Frazier, one of our favorites on Twitter. Look how quickly I screenshot that. 10 seconds after he sent it. Thoughts on Precious and Deuce getting Bojan and Burke. Thoughts on Precious and Deuce getting Bojan and Burks' minutes. You had to put the apostrophe in there. Once the team is fully healthy. So I talked about that on this morning's pod, but in case you missed it, I'm sort of a fan of that idea. When everyone is healthy, it's going to be hard to play Precious because I do think you're going to want Bojan shooting out there with Anunoby in some lineups. Like, I just kind of, I still, even though Bojan's been disappointing, I think that could potentially be a pretty deadly offense, defense, like those two supplementing each other thing going on. Precious is too good to go into oblivion, and this is where it's really essential that Tom Thibodeau is able to juggle. He's able to juggle his rotation based on the series, based on the game, based on the situation, and what specific moments call for. So I think Precious and Bojan will both be situational come playoff time. I think between Deuce and Burks, it's far less ambiguous. Like the big development this game was Burks didn't get in until about halfway through the second quarter and only played 5 total minutes in this ball game, and that was a great thing because Burks in those 5 minutes did nothing. He took 2 shots, missed 2 shots, contributed no other way, continuing the trend since he's come to the Knicks, where since the first game where he made a bunch of shots, and it was kind of a mixed bag. He has been god awful, and I don't understand because he's not giving you any more point guard stuff than Deuce is. Like, where the logic isn't playing over Deuce, who at this point is a better shooter, more efficient shooter, better shot selection, and a world's better defender than Alec Burks is. So no reason to play Burks. And I think we're already seeing the beginning of that. And thankfully, we're seeing the evolution of Tom Thibodeau and him recognizing that, yes, it is possible that a young guard could play better than the eternal hooper himself, Alec Burks. A little bit of an off night for Dante DiVincenzo, not anything to fixate on. 3 for 13, 3 for 10 from three, just cold shooting. They didn't really need him to be great tonight. Did supplement it with 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals. Hurt 2 different guys in the Magic, so that was a bummer. Just tripped over his legs. Fultz and who was the other guy? It was Cole Anthony on back-to-back possessions. Jericho Sims, 28 minutes. I thought he played some very good defense in those minutes, though he clogged up the floor. He had a nice putback dunk on a Jalen miss at one point. All right, we'll wrap this up. One more question. It was intended to be a mailbag question. It comes from Victor Miguel. What do our Knicks need to be like the Pistons that got the championship some years ago without any A1 star? Thanks, guys. So we've heard versions of this question before on this pod. I think it's worth emphasizing that the league just had a lot less talent back then, so it was more plausible that if you had 1 through 5 guys who could reasonably considered all-stars. In fact, I think it was 2 years later, 4 of those 5 guys were all-stars, and the lone exception, Tayshaun Prince, was like one of the best role players in the league, like kind of a maybe like even relative to the time slightly less talented version of Mikal Bridges. Like certainly Mikal is a defender, if not quite as an offensive player, but he was awesome. Rip Hamilton was awesome. Chauncey Billups, deserving Hall of Famer. Ben Wallace, like the Rudy Gobert of his time. Rasheed Wallace, he was an extraordinary talent who maybe didn't always totally maximize it, but for those years he did. And that team was like, I think it was a combination of the time in NBA history, a Lakers team that did not have Karl Malone and also had a lot of infighting and was just about ready to call it quits, an ultra weak Eastern Conference. And just a perfect fit of a bunch of really, really good players. But I also think there's a reason that has not been replicated for 19 years. So is there a world where like all the dominoes could fall and like KP could get hurt and or the Celtics could get out before they play the Knicks and the Knicks could roll through and they could get to the finals? And then I don't know who's the equivalent of Karl Malone. Aaron Gordon could get hurt and the Knicks could somehow pull off a crazy upset there. Like, yeah, there's there's a universe where it happens. And it's why, like, whenever I talk about the Knicks title chance, I say, yeah, it might be 4%, might even be like if they got the fully healthy version of this team, 6% or so. But it's just really unlikely because it is hard. It's really, really hard to win when there's a scenario where you play 3 straight series or 2 straight series where you don't have the best player on the court. And as incredible as Jalen Brunson is, like it is extraordinarily unlikely that they would get to the conference finals or the finals and he would be the best player on the court. It's even somewhat unlikely that they'd get to the second round and he'd be the best player on the court. He was last year. Was that just because Jimmy Butler was beaten up? I don't know. I think he might have been anyways with how well he played. But it is so hard to do. That being said, like how it could happen, I think if the Knicks, like, I think the version of that team that I've imagined when I've talked about potential acquisitions is with Mikal Bridges on it. If there's a world where the Knicks trade for Mikal Bridges and you have like a Brunson, Bridges, OG, Randall, Hartenstein, or Mitch lineup, like that is just so much two-way talent and shooting and enough creation. Like that is the formula of the Pistons, and you still might need a break or two to go your way. But right now, I think relative to the time and place, like they are a little bit less talented than those Pistons were. But with Bridges, then you could start having that conversation. All right, that is it for tonight's episode of Locked On Knicks. I went a little bit longer than I thought. It is well past my bedtime. But we will be back talking to you guys on Monday. But until then, be good and talk to you guys very, very soon on Locked On Knicks.